Finance.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Mad Scientist Financial Independence Podcast, the podcast where I get inside the brains of some of the best and brightest in the personal finance space to find out how they achieved financial independence. I'm excited to introduce my guest today, but before I do, I just wanted to thank everybody out there who left a iTunes review. There was a lot of great feedback, and I really enjoyed reading through all the comments, so thank you very much to everyone who did leave a review. We haven't reached the 200 review goal yet. We're only about 30 short now, which is amazing. But yeah, if you haven't left a review yet and you want to have 2 shows per month for the rest of the year, head over to iTunes now, and I'll put a link in the show notes, and you can leave me a review there. And then as soon as we get above 200 reviews, I'll start doing 2 a month. So anyway, this month's guest is Justin from rootofgood.com. I actually interviewed him back in February when I was being very productive, and I front-loaded all of my interviews for the year. So this one's taken a while to get out there, but I'm really excited to release it. Justin's been blogging over at Root of Good just probably almost as long as I have been. I think he came out maybe a year or so later, but he's been retired for a good few years now, and his wife is just joined him in retirement, which is really exciting because she had eventually worked herself into a job that she couldn't quit either. So I'm excited to find out about how she was eventually able to pull the trigger and quit her job. So let's get right into it. And Justin, thanks a lot for being here. I really appreciate it.
Thanks a lot, Mr. Mad Scientist.
Thanks. So if maybe somebody out there doesn't know about Root of Good, could you just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Justin. I like Brandon mentioned, I have a website, rootofgood.com. So I talk about financial independence and early retirement at that blog, and particularly my own journey, but also just general advice on how we got there, and savings rates and withdrawal strategies, investing, taxes, finance in general. Just to kind of go over a history of how I started and how I got to where I am today, which is 35 years old, and I've been retired for a couple years now. I started saving right out of college. I've saved probably half my income in the early years. That as we got raises, that increased to 60 or 70, 75% savings rate. I've been a passive index fund investor almost my entire investing career. So we're talking low cost Vanguard index funds here primarily. And we live in Raleigh, North Carolina. So it's a low to moderate cost of living, especially compared to New York City, Silicon Valley, San Jose, California areas. Pretty modest housing prices out here. So that's, we have a paid off house now. Just in the last year, we paid off our house after having a small mortgage on it for a while. So that's, we have 3 kids. That's another thing. It is possible to retire early, even if you have kids. It's obviously more challenging. Kids do present challenges and can have unexpected needs, but we've been fortunate to have 3 healthy, relatively normal children. So
great tax benefits. You point this out quite a few times on your site. The little ones are nice for reducing your taxes as well.
Yeah, I think I've calculated it was something like $5,500 per year in tax benefits, just on federal income taxes. And so when you look at the cost of it, whatever they cost per year minus $5,500 is actually the net cost of children. So that's something to keep in mind when people say, well, it's impossible to ever retire early if you have kids because they're so extremely expensive. Yeah, maybe, but are you also including things like you're doing different things during the day that may be cheaper with kids?
Right, exactly. Yeah, you're not spending a bunch of money on booze and partying and stuff.
Yeah, and the booze that you do drink is going to be probably at home more likely, or at other parents' houses, hanging out with the kids, and a 6-pack of nice beer or a bottle of whiskey or something is the price of a shot or a single beer.
Exactly.
At the bar. So yeah.
So you guys it seems like you've been pretty good with money your entire lives, though, because if I'm correct in saying this, you guys left university with a positive net worth, whereas a lot of people, sometimes are leaving with six figures in debt. So could you talk just a little bit about that and how you were able to do that when everyone else is probably just racking up a bunch of loans?
Yeah, sure. So we had a slightly positive net worth, and part of that was luck, and part of that was being smart and working hard during college and making, getting in the right, taking the right steps to get to that point. We did take on student loan debt during college, and it was very favorable interest rates, and we still actually have some of that debt today at 0.75% interest rate, and we never intend on paying it off anytime soon because I will take as much debt as anyone will give me at 0.75% interest rate.
Absolutely.
Because, you can invest it in treasuries and get double that yield or triple it. So it's an excellent arbitrage opportunity if you can find a good interest rate out there. But during college, we spent, we spent carefully. We actually bought a place in college instead of renting a place because it's in North Carolina. It's significantly cheaper to buy than it is to rent. Many times, that's not always true everywhere, and not always true even locally. But for us, it was cheaper to buy a place instead of rent. We bought at the bottom of the market in 2001 and ended up selling it, doing pretty well in terms of gains after making some DIY improvements around 2005, I believe. So we made a little bit. A few $10,000s off of this real estate transaction. And so, that kind of gave us a boost going into our post-college years and starting out working. And so I think that real estate transaction, deciding to buy instead of rent, certainly gave us a head start on that path to net worth creation. And I think if you go back to where we were at in college, even back then, we were thinking long-term net worth growth. I didn't really have any idea in my mind about early retirement or even really like a concrete concept of how to grow my net worth or what that even means. But it was just, I knew at the time it was cheaper to pay a mortgage and maintain your property, your own property, and pay taxes on your property instead of paying rent. And we could also be in a nicer place that, we don't have a college slum landlord renting out to us. We're actually in our own place, and we can, it can be nice if we want it to be. And we also had jobs off and on during college. I had progressively more, I guess I'd say, jobs that were oriented towards my college major so that they tended to pay better than just washing dishes or being a waiter somewhere. Research engineer, teacher assistant in my discipline. I had a grant at one point to do research as an undergraduate. Also got a lot of scholarships just from doing well in school. Kind of the things that you could do if you're reasonably smart and apply yourself and try hard. And it's so a lot of those things, it generated income for us during college. It actually allowed us to not really need the college loans, but the rates were so good, we took them anyway because it was a financially smart decision.
Nice.
And then once we got to graduation, all those career-oriented jobs that I took on ended up helping me get a good job right out of college. So I think it's just a lot of, thinking about where you want to be in a few years when you're in college will certainly help pay off in terms of your financial position when you leave college, as well as your career position when you're leaving college.
Absolutely. That's great stuff. So you left college and you guys both went on to do law degrees, right? Did you jump into that right away, or was there some working in between?
I went straight from undergrad to law school, and my wife, I believe she worked for between a year, maybe a year and a half in between undergraduate and law school. So that's another thing, she did have that brief break between undergrad and law school where she did have some income there. I think that's probably how we got that loan on the investment on our house that we lived in. So that's I can't remember the details of it. It's been 15 years now, roughly, but
Right.
that's got to be how we qualified for it. And credit was pretty easy at the time too, from what I remember. I just remember being shocked that someone would give us a loan for $70,000 or whatever it was back then. When we're virtually broke college students, and my wife had a job back then, but yeah, it's just, wow, this is a lot of money. It's more money than I've ever seen in my life, but
Yeah, exactly. The same thing happened to me when we moved from Scotland back to the States. We sold our house in Scotland, and I was looking in Boston where we were living at the time just to see if I wanted to buy something there. And I was working for a Scottish company remotely on a month-to-month basis. My wife was back in school because she had to get her optometry degree in the States, and and we got approved for like a $400,000 loan. Or $450,000, something crazy, 400 or 450, and it was just like, are you crazy? Like I could be out of a job tomorrow. My wife's not working. It's just like, what are you doing? But this was right when the whole world was about to collapse, and they were going to pay for all their sins. But yeah, I'm sure it was still even bad earlier than that. So when did you finally, launch into your main career then?
Yeah, so I worked in engineering, transportation engineering, doing mostly consulting engineering for a private firm, with private and government clients. But so at 2004, I graduated law school in the spring and started working. We went on a honeymoon for a week, and then came back and started working the very next day after graduation, actually. So May 2004, started working, did the consulting engineering thing for around 6 or 7 years, and then spent a few years at the State Turnpike Authority, building toll roads for a few years, and quit working in 2013. So a little bit less than 10 years in my full-time career, plus 7 or 8 years of those random odd jobs that got progressively more advanced as I went through college.
Nice. Yeah, you have a great post on your site called Zero to Millionaire in 10 Years, and I'll link to that in the show notes. But you just lay out exactly, how you took your salary and your wife's salary and what it looked like, and what additions you made to your portfolio, and how your net worth grew from pretty much zero to what it is now, 1.5 million. If I think I looked at the latest number on
it's a little bit less than that today, but at the end of the year, it was around 1.5 million.
And we're recording this in February, so there's been a lot of downward pressure on the markets recently, and today's no different. So
to circle back to that Zero to Millionaire post, it went viral and was all over, and I think it had 1 million views at Business Insider.
Wow!
They picked it up and shared it, and so I think it's just that and I think the reason it's people like it is because we're not making these ridiculous 6-figure salaries. We're not making like $500,000 a year as investment bankers in New York.
Your household income topped out at $150K. Is that right?
Yeah. I think 141,000 earned income plus like another 9,000 in dividends. So, my income was around 70, and my wife's income was also around 70,000 at our peak. The most that we ever made. We started working, I think I earned 48,000 back in 2004. My wife was, I think, at 38,000. It's in the article that you'll see on this post. But we started out working $80,000, $90,000, worked our way up, ended up at $150,000 combined household income. Lots of people earn that much, just one person,
right.
In a professional career. And so to say, well, we can't do it because we only earn average middle-class salaries, middle-class college degree holder salaries. You can do it. You got to make sacrifices at some point, but just wanted to throw that out there that, we never had the big .com IT tech salaries or investment banking salaries or attorney salaries for that matter.
Right, absolutely. So do you think your success just comes simply from your savings rate and making those lifestyle choices that allowed you to have such a high savings rate? Is that what you would say? Because you said you did a little bit of real estate investing early on. You then had a business, so you're sort of entrepreneurial at sometimes. But looking at this section of the spreadsheet that you put into this post, it just seems like you're really just pumping a ton of your earnings back into your investments. So is that what you would consider your biggest reason for success?
Yeah, I would say, smart moves early on during college and right after in terms of starting the business and real estate. That helped is probably, 8-10% maybe of our total net worth. and obviously that money was in the market early, so it was invested longer. But I think probably half or more of our net worth is from actual savings put into investments, and not long-term growth, because we're only talking about 10 years or so for this money to actually grow. So, I mean, yeah, I think it's just we were saving half or more of our income. It's unfortunately it's not magic. There's no way to get around it in terms of finding some secret strategy to success. It really just comes down to spending less than you make and investing whatever you have left each month. And the higher your savings rate, the faster you will have enough invested to support yourself to live off of indefinitely.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, and you can see why it was such a viral hit, just because there's nothing in the story that people say, oh, I couldn't do that. You're just persistent and patient, and it's definitely paid off. So, can you talk a little bit about the end of your career? How did you decide to finally call it quits, and what was the transition like?
Yeah. Well, it was sort of a bittersweet ending. We had originally planned on maybe working another year or two past when I quit working. But I worked for the Turnpike Authority here in Raleigh. It's a state agency, but it's sort of we didn't have any state government employment rights like most state employees have. So we were pretty much at will. And they exercised that clause to get rid of about a quarter of the staff at our Turnpike Authority. So I walked in one morning, and the boss man said, hey, pack your stuff. Here's your dismissal notice, and we'll escort you out the door. So it was not completely unexpected, because during the weekend, I saw a coworker got let go the previous Friday. And so I kind of was like on notice that, Monday morning may be a very interesting morning for me. And yeah, when I saw the boss man walk in the door, I was like, oh, this is probably not good news. So, I packed my stuff up, walked out, got in my car, and was on the 10-minute drive home. I was like, what now? What am I doing? What's next for me? So I called my wife and said, hey, I got let go, by the way. I'll talk to you tonight about it. And I went home and I sat down and I started thinking, like, I think we're good. I think we're 95% already. Let me check my spreadsheet. Let me go over my plan that I already had written out. And so, yeah, pretty quickly within a day, I realized I'm retired. I don't need to work anymore. We're financially independent. My wife doesn't need to work anymore. She can obviously plan her strategy to exit a little bit better than my strategy. But
how did it feel? Did it feel good, or did it feel, were you apprehensive a bit, or was it like, did you get excited by the prospect of it once you realized that you were there and just gonna chill out from now on? Or what were the feelings like?
It's weird, just because I didn't plan on the timing of it was weird. And so I think the first 6 months, it was still a little bit surreal. It was a little bit like, is this really where we are? Are we really, am I going to get bored with this, or decide to go back, work somewhere, and then leave on my own terms later? Just because that's how I want to go out of the working world. So it was a little bit like, I don't know, like having one foot out the door, but like a small pinky toe still sticking in the door to see, what am I actually going to do? But, as that time went on, the first 6 months or so, I was getting into that decompression, relaxation, enjoying life a lot more, understanding, getting comfortable with, yes, we have money in the bank, we can live off of it. My wife, she was planning on leaving very soon after, and this was 2013. So she was thinking about leaving, at the end of 2013, beginning of 2014. And I guess we can talk about her work now.
Yeah, I really want to. She has a very similar situation as I'm in, so I'm excited to hear more about it. And I know there's been some recent developments. So yeah, please tell us a little bit about how your wife has tried to retire.
Yeah, I'm so excited, because this is kind of like I guess a good final chapter in her career. So it was late 2013, and she's thinking about pulling the plug in 2013. But she's so she gets a bonus in the spring in 2014. She knows it's going to happen. I think it was really big. Like, I think she got like a $5,000 bonus and maybe a $5,000 or $10,000 raise or something, because they really wanted to keep her. And she'd been, kind of hinting in late 2013, hey, I'm not going to be here forever. Might be retiring pretty soon. So anyway, I think they hooked her up to keep her on board. So in 2014, she gets another 4 weeks of vacation time at the beginning of 2014. She gets the fat bonus and raise, and she asks for her 3-month sabbatical, paid sabbatical that her company offers in 2014 for the summer, so she can spend the summer hanging out with the kids, and we can go travel some for a month or so, something like that. They don't give her the full month off, but they give her, the full 3 months, but they do give her 5 weeks fully paid time off as a mini sabbatical, with the promise that she'll get her full sabbatical in 2015 and in the following year, to kind of string her along, keep her on board as long as they can.
Right.
So, she took off half the summer in 2014. We went to Canada for a few weeks with the 2-year-old and our other kids, and so that was an adventure. But then, so she went back to work at the end of the summer in 2014. Kind of was like, okay, I can work until the spring, see what happens, maybe quit, maybe not, maybe get my sabbatical next year. She continued in 2015, got another bonus, another raise in the beginning of 2015. Immediately put in her request for her official sabbatical, the 3 months off. Got that approved. So she spent the whole summer, almost the whole summer in 2015, not working and getting paid.
And you guys went to travel around Mexico, right?
We spent 7.5 weeks traveling around Mexico with our 3 kids, which was an adventure again, but it was easier with a 3-year-old than with a 2-year-old, much easier. And it was a lot slower paced. So that was I know you're a fan of slow travel, and so are we. It would have been very difficult to do any kind of fast paced travel with a 3-year-old and have a good time. So that was pretty awesome. My wife went back to work in August, and was kind of like, I'll just take it week by week. And she put in her notice she put in a resignation letter in September and said, "That's it. Peace out, yo. I'm gone." And they came back and said, "Well, what can we do to keep you on here?" And she had fully intended to quit, and was, it was her official resignation letter. She was out the door. And so they offered her working from home 4-ish days per week, with the understanding that as long as the work gets done, it doesn't really matter how many hours she actually puts in. So she's like, okay, I'll give this a shot now, but I'm still planning on leaving. So just wanted that employer, I'm not going to stick around too long. Mm-hmm. So we're in February right now as this is being recorded. Since September, I guess, what is that, 4 months? She's, for the past 6 months, actually, almost 6 months now, she's been working 2, 3, sometimes 4 days a week, burning up her vacation time. She hasn't worked, I don't think, for the past 2 weeks. We've been out of the country on vacation for a while now. But she's just been working a very small amount and working from home. So it's very, very flexible in terms of what she's been able to do, and still get paid full time for her work. So for the past 6 months, it's been kind of like semi-retirement in terms of hours per week and flexibility. But she did just recently put in her notice to resign again. And today she's working here from home. And tomorrow's her last day.
No kidding. I'll tell her congratulations.
Yeah. Thanks. I will do that. So it's early February. Her last day will be tomorrow. And I think she's excited, but also ambivalent, just, uncertain of the future, that sort of thing. So yeah. I think she'll have a little bit of an adjustment just to get used to the full early retired life here. But she's had a good introduction to it just from the sabbaticals over the past few years and the last 6 months of lots of 3 to 5 day weekends and multi-week periods of not working here and there.
That's amazing.
So,
And that's impressive. She was able to follow through with it. Cause like my employers definitely just sucked me in to stay in for a while now. Cause it just like, yeah, I'm in the same sort of situation. As long as the work gets done, it's fine. I work on another continent from every other employee that I work with. Every other colleague is in America and I'm here in Scotland. So it's like full autonomy and full flexibility, and I'm still doing work that I enjoy. And it's like, well, and I'm getting paid a full U.S. salary. So I just really struggle to see when I'm going to actually call it quits, just because I'm actually really enjoying myself. So it's impressive that she was able to get into such an amazing situation and then still have the ability and the drive to call it quits. So yeah, I applaud her for that and for working her way into such an amazing situation.
Yeah, it's been, I mean, kind of unexpected, the situation that she ended up in. And I think to get to that point and to actually pull the plug, I mean, for her, it was a huge relief. She didn't actually tell me before she put in her notice the second time but it had been stressing her out, just not knowing that date, not having any particular date to look forward to, but knowing that she's planning on leaving very soon. So she just, composed the email and hovered over the send button for a second and clicked it and, and then forwarded the email to me and said, "Hey, look what I did." So, which is fine. I mean, we're fine financially. We don't spend that much money. So if we ever do have to go back to work, it really won't be that hard to find something with our backgrounds and college education that will produce some kind of income that will probably cover our living expenses, even much less than full time.
Sure.
It's a kind of a win-win situation with a very little downside risk of running out of money. Even if we do take a big hit to our portfolio and it goes down by half or more, I mean, we're not going to have to go get a job overnight.
Right.
So there's a lot of flexibility, and I don't think jobs are bad necessarily. I think a lot of small parts of jobs are bad. The deadlines, the schedules, the stress, the coworkers that are difficult, bosses or employees that are difficult, policies, all the workplace BS. I mean, that's the not fun stuff. Commuting. I mean, those are all things that suck.
Yeah.
But then when you, I don't know how else to say it besides it sucks. No one likes those things. But when you get rid of the commute and you get rid of, when you realize that, hey, you don't have to keep this job if you don't like it. You can ignore annoying coworkers. You can ignore some of that stress. You can kind of tell your employer, I want to help out, but I'm in a position where I don't really want to do X or Y or Z anymore. Can we renegotiate our terms?
Absolutely. That's been the best part of the whole journey for me, actually, is just accidentally, just sort of like your wife, I guess. I don't think she planned to work herself into that amazing situation, but it just sort of happens. And then you realize, whoa, this is amazing. You can just get rid of everything that you hate about something and keep only the good parts. And yet they're still trying to, make you even happier by giving you raises and things. So.
Yeah. And it's, she's been planning to quit work for, in the next 3 months, but she's been planning to quit for 3 months the last 2.5 years. And I would tell people, and I bet people probably thought I was full of crap when on my blog, I'm like, yeah, she's going to quit in the next 3 months or 3 to 6 months. And because we really did think that, she was going to hit that next milestone, that, the next bonus or the sabbatical or whatever. And then she would just quit. And then she did quit. And then 6 more months she worked. And now we'll know when this goes live and is broadcasted, but I'm like 99.9% sure she's done. This is it. Tomorrow's her last day. But I, who knows? They may call back and say, "Can you contract 10 hours a week and we'll pay you a lot of money?" And she may do it and she may not. That's really, really up to her and whatever she wants to do whenever that opportunity comes up. Just because I don't think that, you don't have to define yourself as I'm retired and I can never, ever, ever work, or 1 hour of paid employment equals I'm not retired. Okay, yeah, whatever. I mean, it's just a label. It's pretty much, I like to think of it as more of like creating that lifestyle that you want. And if working a little bit and doing something maybe not meaningful, but something that's engaging and intellectually stimulating. If that's what you want to do and it happens to pay money, that's cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there anything about early retirement that surprised you over the last couple of years?
I mean, I thought about it and read about it a lot leading up to early retirement. So not too much that surprised me. I mean, I guess the one thing that surprised me was that, that initial 6-month decompression period. I thought I was going to be different and just immediately jump into it. And it really did take about 6 months to, get into the groove and just like, all right, I can just do nothing all day and it's cool. Nobody cares. I don't have anybody to answer to. Getting into that kind of feeling where, I mean, I still do stuff during the day. I'm still productive to some extent, but just agreeing to let yourself not have to do anything and not feel like, if you aren't working on something, that it's okay. So that was a little bit surprising to me, but I mean, I think it's pretty well known and documented that most people go through that period, a few months.
And you've been spending less in the last 2 years of retirement than you expected. Is that right too?
Yeah, a little bit. I think we've underrun our budget by about $3,000 per year on average, in the last 2 years. And we, just to throw some concrete numbers out there, we have budgeted around $32,000 per year, for spending. And that doesn't include a mortgage, which we did have during the first year, but paid off during the second year. But, so $32,000 per year. We spent a little bit over that the first year in 2014, because we did a major house renovation project. But, I was able to kind of bird dog it the entire time, work with a contractor, make sure I'm getting a good deal, getting what I'm paying for, shop around, get a good guy. So I think being retired certainly helped out and probably saved me a few $1,000s on that. So we spent slightly over $32,000 in 2014. We spent, I think, $25,000 in 2015. And that's in spite of going on a 7.5-week trip through Mexico.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. And with five people in the family. Part of that's travel hacking. You're done with that. The signing up for credit cards, getting sign up bonuses, getting free flights, getting free hotels. So we did all that and cut the trip. I think we spent $4,500 on the trip, and it would have easily been $9,000 or more without that travel hacking, which was really just a couple of credit card signups, not anything crazy ridiculous. I mean, literally a few credit card signups translated into $4,500 in travel savings.
Yeah, that's so good. I'm the same. I don't do anything crazy. I don't want to, get in the bad books with some banks and ruin future opportunities. So yeah, I just take it easy, a couple cards a year, and it's amazing how much it actually saves you. And travel is such a big part of our lives, but such a small part of our budget. So
yeah, and we had traditionally had budgeted $5,500 per year, in cash. But for 2014 and 2015, I think in 2015 we busted that budget a little bit. But I think we also went on 2 weeks worth of cruises and, 7.5 weeks in Mexico. So I don't know how much we spent, probably $6,000 or $7,000 on travel. Still a very, very modest amount. If I told someone how much we traveled and explained how much we spent, I imagine they would say, well, that's clearly impossible.
Right.
But it's just shopping smart, credit card, travel hacking, whatever you want to call it, going in the off season for the cruises, for example, finding good deals in general, making the money go further by traveling to places where the currency is relatively weak, like Mexico or everywhere else in the world right now in 2016.
Right.
So yeah, it's we're definitely spending less than I thought we would.
And you're planning to ramp up a bit. I think I read a recent post you were saying that you're planning on trying to increase that in 2016.
Yeah, so we're just where we are financially. I mean, our portfolio has grown enough to the point where we're kind of I want to try to spend about 4% per year of our portfolio, and that will fluctuate up or down. I mean, the dollar amount will fluctuate up or down as our portfolio value increases or decreases. So in essence, if we have $1.2 million in investments that aren't allocated to anything, let's just say $1.2 million, I want to spend about 4% of that, so $48,000 per year. We've not been spending anywhere near that much, so I'm trying. I set a budget of $40,000 for 2016. So I'm not sure we're ever going to spend that much, but I'm at least increasing the budget intentionally, with the goal being to say, Justin, it's okay to spend more money. Are there any areas here where we can get more value out of things, more value out of life, have more fun, do more things, and focus the money on those areas that do actually bring more value, more fun, more enjoyment. And I believe the categories that received the highest increases were travel, entertainment, and there might be one other one, but those are the big ones. Travel and entertainment, maybe electronics. I don't know, but essentially those purely discretionary fun categories. Otherwise, I mean, we're spending plenty of money in the kind of the cost of living in the required areas, but we're really focused on trying to do more fun stuff. But the weird thing is, like, this summer we're thinking about just staying at home because we've been traveling the past 2 summers. It's been busy, and the kids just, they just want to hang out, go visit their friends, go to the swimming pool, go to the park, go to summer camp. The traditional things that most kids do during the summer. So I think that's fair that at some point we need to just chill out, take it easy for a summer, relax, which we do a lot while we are traveling, but also it's not at home. It's different. So
yeah, I'm excited to see how you do, because old habits really die hard. It's something that I've found as well. It's like, since I'm still working, that's all just bonus income that I didn't expect to have. So it's like, all right, well, let's try to let loose and just go crazy for a year. And, we did the same. We traveled all across Southeast Asia, early 2015. And then we did a lot of trips in Europe, and, we rented an apartment right in the center of Edinburgh so we can walk to everything, and just more expensive than we probably would have, earlier in the journey. And, it felt like we were just going crazy. We're eating out more because we were close to all these restaurants we wanted to try. And it's just like, felt like we were going nuts, but then it really barely moved the needle at all, because all the big things are taken care of, and we're not doing crazy stupid things like having a big car payment or something like that. So I'm looking forward to seeing how your 40,000 goes.
Yeah, and it's, I mean, exactly what you're talking about. Like, we could easily afford to go on a year-long around the world trip. But our real constraint right now is just the kids are in school for 8 or 9 months a year. And that's something, we've looked at. We could homeschool and then go on a trip around the world. And, I think there's pros and cons, and it could be really hectic for us. But that's something that, a few years down the road, we'll certainly have that financial flexibility to say, okay, this is the year. Let's do it. Let's go around the world. Let's do this big, awesome trip, that we'll never forget ever. Mm-hmm. And, we can't do it on 40,000 per year. It may be 60,000 or 70,000. I have no idea. I mean, I'm just making numbers up here, but it may cost more money than what we would budget typically in 1 year, and that's okay. I mean, if like we're underspending now, it's okay to spend more in 1 year and less than another year. I'm not strictly sticking to any particular number, as long as on average overall we're kind of hitting this target of 4% or so of the annual portfolio value.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a great exercise to do. It like, at least for us, like I said, we traveled a ton in 2015, and we actually found that we traveled too much. We stopped. The excitement of the trips wasn't as great. The enjoyment wasn't as great. You were just, a bit tired of seeing the same sorts of things in each of the cities you were in. And we realized, all right, we thought we wanted to travel a ton, but actually maybe we just only want to take a few trips a year so that we actually enjoy them. And I think that's great. Yeah, to to plan for those types of years where you're like, okay, I'm going to spend more. And then that way you realize that, hey, actually, maybe it doesn't actually make me happier. So rather than feeling deprived, like, oh, I wish I could spend 60,000 this year in travel, you do it once, you realize it's not that great. And then when you get back down to 30,000, you're like, oh yeah, this is much better. Now this is going to come out of left field to you. I was just reading a bit about your past work history, and it seems like we had the same job when we were 16 years old. Jersey Mike subs.
Jersey Mike subs, yeah, man.
Yeah, man. So yeah, I went to high school down in North Carolina. I actually moved from Pittsburgh to just north of Charlotte when I was in 8th grade.
Okay.
So yeah, the Jersey in Mooresville, North Carolina. I was employee there for, I don't know, most of high school. I think a lot of high school anyway. So just to see how fresh that is in your mind, do you remember what the number 4 sub was?
I was thinking as you were saying it. I believe number 3 is like ham maybe.
And cheese, yeah, ham and cheese.
4 was that like capicolo and something?
Oh, you got it, man. Yeah,
I got. Okay, this is like wasted space in my brain. This is 7. This is 19 years ago.
Yep.
Wow. Okay.
Well done, man. Yeah, that's. I figured number 4 would be a bit difficult. It's not like, it's not like a number 17, which.
Number 17. I knew number 17. Number 17. No one can forget number 17. It means steak and cheese.
That's right.
Yeah.
So it wasn't as popular as the number 17, but it was one of my favorites. So I was like, I'm gonna see if I can get him on the number 4. That is awesome, dude.
Yeah.
Nobody else in the audience will care, but this is providing me a lot of entertainment.
I haven't been in a Jersey Mike's, I don't think, since I worked there, just because I ate plenty of free food while I was there. And that's pretty wild. Things that you remember after almost 20 years.
That's good, man. So yeah, we're getting near the end, and I always ask my guests, if you had one piece of advice for somebody who's on the path to financial independence, what would it be?
Well, that's tough. There's lots of things. Maybe if I can give 2 pieces of advice.
Oh yeah, give 2.
And this might be one piece of advice to younger people, and one piece of advice to kind of the people that are on the path already to financial independence. For young people, obviously, save early and save often. Figuring out, becoming a master of investments and knowing exactly where you're going to be 10 or 20 years out and understanding all that is largely irrelevant. Just start saving money when you are young and figure out how to invest it as you go along. Figure out the planning aspects of it and how much you need to save and your budget and your withdrawal rates and all that. That's a lot easier to figure out later in the game. Even tax strategy. Don't worry too much about tax planning today. Start saving today and then kind of get smarter at tax planning, as you learn more as you go along. But saving early and saving often really is the only piece of magic that you can use to get to financial independence at a fairly early age. And the piece of advice to the kind of the middle of the path people that have started already and understand savings and investments and the importance of all that, just stick with it. Perseverance. You may see your peers out there doing different things than you are doing in terms of lifestyle choices and spending decisions. Make your own choices. Stick with your plan. If early retirement and financial independence is a key goal of yours, stick with those plans and do what you want to do for yourself because you want to do them and not because you're buckling to peer pressure of, well, everyone else is buying a Mercedes. Everyone else is having a kid. Everyone else is buying a big house. Everyone else is going on, these crazy expensive vacations to resorts in Tahiti. Just keep doing whatever you enjoy doing. And maybe that does include fancy cars and vacations in Tahiti. And that's just part of your spending plan. And that's okay too. But do what you want to do because you want to do it and stick with your plan, persevere until you get to your end goal. And I think it can be tough when you get part of the way there and everyone else is enjoying their higher salaries and their careers. And you're still kind of, on that path to saving, but another 5 or 10 years later, you'll be at your goal, possibly in your late 20s, 30s, maybe 40s. You've hit your goal. You've pretty much done something that other people do in their 60s, but you've done it 2 or 3 decades earlier. It's pretty cool. It's a good accomplishment. I mean, it's something that, even if you keep working for a while, it's something that you've got that money in your back pocket that you can pretty much name your terms of employment wherever you go in life, whatever you want to do, however many hours per week you want to work, flexible. Everything can be flexible when you don't need a job. It's a good spot to be in. And even if you're halfway there, I mean, you have that ability to say, this job sucks. You can shove it. I'm going to walk away and do something else for a year and then come back and, find a new job, new employer somewhere else. There's lots of advantages to financial independence when you're only halfway there. So just, kind of persevere when you can, make the money, keep saving, but also remember that, that money in your pocket is a powerful tool that you can use to help you design that lifestyle that you want to have.
Absolutely. Two great pieces of advice. Yeah, you see people that are just paralyzed by fear to start investing, and it's like, well, yeah, even if you make a mistake and you lose half of what you put in, what if you put in 10,000, that you're just out 5,000. You have so little money at that stage anyway that you just get started and then learn as you go. That's great advice. And then absolutely using the power that financial independence, or even being 50% of the way to financial independence, gives you. Using that to your advantage and start making that lifestyle you want now is awesome. So, Justin, thank you so much for joining me. This has been a lot of fun. And if people want to find you, should they just go to rootofgood.com and send you an email from there? Or?
Yeah, rootofgood.com. That's the blog name. There's a contact form on there. Shoot me an email through there. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Facebook. I can't remember the names for those things. I think
I'll link to them I'll link them in the show notes. So.
Yeah, check below the podcast here. There'll be links for it, and stop by and say hi.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, Justin. I really appreciate it, and hopefully talk to you soon.
All right, thanks a lot.
All right, bye.
Finance.